Good morning. This is retired Pastor Karl Schmidt from Calvary Lutheran Church, a little Lutheran church in Amherst, New York. We welcome you to this broadcast November 16 of 2025, last Sunday of the church here. The text, we've shortened it down. It's a larger portion of Matthew 18, but we're looking at just verses 21 and 22. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto you until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Here ends that portion of the gospel text. Human beings are kind of, be blunt, stupid animals. Spent a year in the southwest corner of Minnesota, and the farmers, a lot of them had pigs, a lot of them had cows, and some of them planted corn or soybeans or whatever else. They did some there used to be a cannery out there in the southwest corner of Minnesota, so they also did like peas and beans and other stuff too that you could, can. And so they did that as well with the farmers there. But the farmers knew that the animals had a certain level of intelligence. When it came time to, there was a storm or something coming, especially in the wintertime, the animals didn't need to be herded up. They knew enough that there was a nice, warm, heated place called a barn. I'm not sure if that's the actual name for it, but it had stalls in it and had food in it, and it was warmer, and they would go there. They weren't so stupid. They were going to stand outside and freeze. They knew enough not to do that. So animals have a certain level of just, I don't know if you call it common sense or animal sense or whatever it is, but they're smart enough to not put themselves purposefully in danger, The only ones that they really had to worry about were newborn calves, and if they were newborn out in a field, they worried that they might wander into a creek, and they didn't survive in the creek. So they had to go make sure that the cows that were about to give birth were brought into the barn. But animals have a certain intelligence. Dogs, very intelligent. Lassie, roof, roof. What? Timmy's in the well? Roof, roof, roof. We need how long a rope? Roof, roof. Oh, 130 foot. Okay, Lassie, we're on it. When you're watching that on black and white TV and you're 6, that's believable. You're like, okay, wow, that dog talks. So dogs can be very intelligent. People, on the other hand, no. You put them in school, and you tell them, stay away from, let's say, just 2 things: drugs and excessive alcohol. And they're like, why? Well, that should be the first 2 things we should check out. I think drugs and alcohol. You're like, no, those 2 things will end you. Especially if you start out young with either one, you could be well done. And it doesn't follow economics. It doesn't follow intelligence. It doesn't follow gender or race. It doesn't follow anything that we know of, because just anybody tries this stuff and ends up dead. They have Narcan. Yeah, it's a little dispenser that you can find them on street corners in a lot of cities. There's like a little where you used to have washed golf balls. Now there's a little thing to save lives, and you just spray it up. If they're passed on the sidewalk, you just spray it up their nose, and if they come to life, okay. If they don't, well, call 911. Actually, I don't think they want you to call 911. I think it just has a regular number, because that's not an emergency. They're dead. They're temperature of the sidewalk. That's not smart. Or completely destructive behavior. Gambling, for instance, is one where people wander into that one, and they advertise it everywhere, and they make it look fun and exciting, and until you all of a sudden find out that you can't afford a slice of bread, and you get kicked out of your house, and that's fun. Because, hey, finding a nice, good-sized cardboard box and dragging it to a bridge is you would be right there with a lot of other people who are playing gambling too, because that's where you will end up, because they never lose, you always do. I mean, it's just math. People are incredibly stupid animals, and not just because of those sorts of things. Should I even mention the 5 and 6 times divorced? I had one couple come to me once. They wanted to get married, and I was like, I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, you know what the definition of really stupid is? Oh, come on, everyone knows that one. It's you do the same thing over and expect different results, you know? And it's like, you two both got like 5 or 6 behind you. What you both need is a library card. You do not need each other. You just need to, go to the library, maybe buy a coffee together once in a while, and then go home alone. Because you two are just a rolling truck stop disaster. You're just minutes away from just destroying yourself. They said, well, you're not going to marry? I said, no, neither one of you, not because of divorce, just because you two are train wrecks. You should be monks and nuns. You don't belong with other human beings. Neither one of you is capable of living in a cage with anyone else. You're solitary animals. Goodbye. I don't know what they did after that, no idea, but they left my office. They weren't happy, but I couldn't in good conscience marry those 2 idiots. No, because they were idiots. They destroyed every part of their lives and the people around them. So then we get to the text here. Peter. Look, Jesus did not choose Peter for intelligence. I'm not sure why he chose Peter. Peter was a real, oftentimes, idiot. He's the first one who, when Jesus was doing miracles and he said, push up from the shore, Jesus said, what are you, the boss of me? And he used the common word for boss, epistata, which is just like, like if you work at, I don't know, Tops or Target, whatever, and you have a boss on the floor. That's all that word means. It's only a secular word. It has no religious meaning. And so Peter's mocking him out. What are you, the boss of me? Like, a 9-year-old might say to parents. That's his Peter. Yeah. Not a shining, bright example of pretty much anything. So, Peter, in typical human form, as we're pretty much idiots, asks Jesus a question. You know where they say, there's no stupid questions? Ha! That's not true. No, really not true. There are some really stupid questions. Like if you're in a class and you ask a teacher a question, and a teacher says, could you see me after class? And you're like, uh-oh. and the teacher says to you, I can tell from your question that you don't have the slightest clue what's going on in here. Yeah, no, that's hence the question. Hence, that's why you're the teacher, hence the question. I thought maybe you might teach me what I, don't have any clue about or understand. That's why I'm here. I actually had Greek teachers who told me after 1 week, Karl, you're an idiot. You're never going to learn this. Turns out I'm severely dyslexic, and none of them. Finally, one guy from Oxford caught it, Dr. Schmidt. But yeah, the rest of them were just like, duh. So yeah, meant to teach, but no. So even a place where humans go to learn oftentimes doesn't turn out that way. Peter was no shining example of it at all. And we know he carried a knife and was not shy about trying to slash someone's throat, like the high priest's servant when Jesus was arrested in the garden. He didn't just cut off his ear. That guy was ducking. And this big, rough fisherman comes at you with a big old Bowie knife. Duck! Just duck! Move! And that's why the ear came off, because he was going for a throat. See, the ear's higher. If you're pulling away, you don't get the throat, you get the ear. Yeah, that's why he cut off the high priest servant's ear. Right. Okay, so that's Peter. He doesn't mind killing you in a fight. So he comes to Jesus with a question that is profoundly stupid. How many times should I forgive? Now, what makes that question just stupid as all get out? Well, firstly, he's standing before Lord God, Elohim, Yahweh, El Adonai. He's standing before the one who led the people of Israel out of Egypt. He's the one who's standing before the one who made all things everywhere, billions and billions of years ago. I mean, he's the one who maintains stars. And he asks him, how many times do I have to forgive my brother? What makes that question incredibly stupid is that he's trying to quantify something that has no possibility of being quantified. You can't even qualify it. It has neither quantity nor quality. Because we're just stupid animals. And frankly, sometimes I wonder if we have 2 dogs, and I think some of them, once in a while, are brighter than humans I'm talking to on the phone at the same time. And I've got the little dog lapping at my foot, and it's like, maybe I should just talk to the dog. Because this person on the phone, no, that got it going. So you look at this, and Peter thinks, let's try to get into his mind. Peter thinks that we do things wrong, or we bother someone, or we annoy someone, or we steal from someone, or we punch someone, or whatever. And then that person should say, okay, it's fine. We make nice. In Peter's little pea-sized brain, that's what religion is about. And that's why he's asking Jesus, this rabbi, because Jesus picked him to be a student. I'm sure Peter at no point in his life ever imagined he'd be a student again. He copied his Torah chapters when he was little, and that was it. He wasn't going to school. So Peter wants to quantify. Peter wants to say how many, how much, how often, in what way. Here's the thing about sin. Sin is not what you do. It's who you are. Let me put it in a simple way. You go to your wife and you go, I just want to tell you, if some girl named Sally calls, I cheated on you with Sally, and so if she calls, just tell her to go away. Your wife's like, what? Well, it's not like it's the first time. What? And all of a sudden you find yourself being thrown out the front door, and your cool stereo system just got thrown through the front window, and she set your car on fire. Because you're done. You are done. All your clothes are in the driveway on fire with your car, your truck. So you're done. Because there's no answer that satisfies that one. Our problem isn't what we do or don't do. Our problem is that we are inadequate. Entirely and absolutely inadequate. It's not, put it this way. The measure of the law is to stand before God with a heart and mind equal to His. That's it. That's the measure of the law. It has nothing, there's no words in that about what you would do or don't do, is there? Fear, love, and trust in God above all things. This is to stand before God, not just without doing bad things or wrong things. This is to be as holy and godlike. I don't want to use the word pure or holy because we don't know what those words mean. But to be like God. To stand before Him in that way. Because what we call sin is just a negative. And if you come before your wife, you go, well, hey, I know it's your birthday, and here's some good news. I didn't cheat on you this week. That's it. That's the good news. I didn't cheat. And she's like, well, that's not a thing. That's assumed. That's not a thing. No present. There's nothing on the positive end of the scale. And you see, with us, it's not sin that's the problem. Because even if we had no sin at all, we'd still be wretched. Because we have nothing good in us. The positive side of the balance. We can't stand before God with his, and I use the word his because I just don't know what else to call him, heart, soul, and mind, whatever that is for God. We haven't seen him. We don't know him. And we certainly are not like him. That's the problem. That's what makes Peter's question incredibly stupid. He's standing before God. He is standing with God in his little room, wherever they are at the time. And he's saying to God, you do your own little thing. You do you. And I just want to know how many times I should forgive Simon over here or whoever else. I'm sure Jesus kind of like, when he answered this, 7 times 70 maybe, he was laughing. I'm sure he was about ready to buckle over laughing. Because Peter and the rest of them were just so profoundly stupid. They had no idea why Jesus was there. They had no idea what he was up to. He came because no human could be the Mashiach, the anointed one, the Messiah, the Christ. All those words mean the one and same one, the anointed one. There's in modern Judaism, there's a thought. It's not consistent, but it's general among the different types of Jews. There are many types of Jews. And the general thinking is that a Messiah can come from any generation, from anywhere, among the sons of David. That's just the case. And so they're constantly looking for a Messiah out of the house of David. That much they think they know. Well, here he is, standing with them in the room, and they are not as smart as one of my dogs. My dogs would know, we should just sit down. Maybe we should just lay down on the floor, because we got nothing here. At least dogs might bring you a biscuit to, sit by you and eat a biscuit while they're sitting next to you. Companionship. They had nothing to bring. And so this is the thought. And people still think of religion as getting rid of the bad stuff. Well, what do you replace it with? What have you got to stand before God with? Okay, you got rid of the bad stuff. Now you're a vacuum. I think it was German, a long time ago. When I was a kid, I went to Germany. We were in the German Deutsches Museum. Big, like 7 miles of exhibits. And one of them was a steel sphere in 2 halves that would join together flatly. And on either end, there were big rings fastened. And 2 teams of horses, once these balls were evacuated from air, a vacuum, could not pull them apart. Because vacuum has a power of its own, because the air outside presses them together. Even if you had what you thought was nothing wrong in you, even if you've kept all of the laws, like that young rich ruler who came before Jesus, and Jesus says, here's the law. And he says, I've done all these things since my youth. Jesus is like, yeah, no you haven't. He went away sad. Because Jesus was looking at a completely different standard. That's still the same. And for the type of shallow, pathetic, religious thinking that you see today, where sin is nothing more than something quantified, something that's on a list. The only reason God wrote down that list for the Jews was because they were so stupid. And I mean so stupid that he had to write down a little list like you would for children. Moms, dads, you write down a little list. Okay, do not fight with your sister and brother. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, do not steal from your brother and sister. Rule number 3, Say nice things to your brother. And say, this is the 10 Commandments. That's all they are. This is when the kids are naughty and you give them a little list of things. You tape it to the fridge door and you say, if you violate this, you're going to get a whooping. So fear me. That list stands. That's the 10 Commandments. It just has God on the other end going, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. You have to realize when God gave those, there wasn't a human being on earth that could follow any of them, because it's not a list you follow. It's not something you do or don't do. It's who you aren't. It's who you aren't. Me, you, all of us. This is where Jesus comes in. Jesus came as one of us, mortal completely, and yet true God. And then the Father said, okay, I'm going to take all of the refuse, all the garbage, all the filth from all of the people of all time. I'm going to lay it on you. So you're going to be the dirtiest, filthiest tramp that ever walked my earth. That's who Jesus is. That's him. You know, little bracelet, what would Jesus do? No. Because the Father made him the filthiest trash on the planet. Because that's all that we aren't. Laid on his shoulders. And the vacuum. The lack of all righteousness. There's no righteousness on the planet that stands before God. And that's the heart of God. It's not here. And that is what Jesus came to do. Remove all of the refuse and replace it with the heart of God. So that Christianity or religion is nothing else than realizing that God has come to you and has simply not changed you so you stop doing bad. Hey, Kara, my wife, have I stopped doing bad after 67 years? No, she just nodded no in a tired, worn-out fashion. No. She knows me well, probably better than anyone else. And she knows my heart. In fact, there's no one that can push each other's buttons better than each other to each other. I know how to bring her over the edge real quick. And she knows the same with me. And we're good at it. You get good at that after, 45 years together, something like that. That's how it is. So we have nothing to offer. Jesus has come to not only remove something, but to give something. And it's not available anywhere else. God sent his Son into the world to not only die for the sin of the world, but to give us all his own righteousness. Religion is telling you that without any effort on your part, you are as clean as holy as the Son of God and have the same heart and mind as the Son of God. And now you can stand before your Father in heaven perfect, whatever that means. I don't honestly know. But whatever it means, that's how we stand before him. You could use the word holy, but that comes from the Hebrew kadosh or the Greek hagios, both which mean out of this world. That's all holy means. Out of this world. Away from this planet. So if you're holy, that means you're just out of this world. Literally. Because what God requires isn't found here. So this is the beauty of this. This is why Peter, at this point especially, had no idea what Jesus was doing or why he was there or even what religion was about. Just like a lot of quote-unquote religious people today. They want to quantify religion. They want to qualify religion. But as far as knowing God, that's not part of it. And learning that when they come to their Father with problems, with issues, they're coming before him as a dear child. not as a stranger, as a dear child, a beloved child. This is why Jesus looks at his son and says, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. The Greek is oideko. When he looks at you, he says, this is my beloved son. This is my beloved daughter, in whom I am well pleased. In Jesus' name, amen.